Reaching the 3rd floor, I walked out into the wide hall. It didn't take long for me to find the room I was looking for. The stench of rot wouldn't be noticeable yet to the others, but it was stronger. I continued forward, wondering exactly what in the wide realm of fucks I was doing. The problem brewing in this hall wasn't mine. In fact, it was a boon. I could keep walking and let what would happen come to pass. After all, fewer guards made everything easier. And if I was smart, I would see every single mortal even loosely tied to the Blood Crown as an enemy. But I could hear snores coming from behind closed doors, and understood that most guards who served the Blood Crown knew no better. This floor was full of innocent men, and if I did nothing, half of them would be dead by the time the sun rose. Or worse. I stopped at the door, rapping my knuckles on it. There was silence, and then a muffled,
"Yeah."
I reached for the handle and turned, finding it unlocked. Pushing it open, I stepped inside. My vision immediately adjusted to the narrow, dimly lit chamber, and I found who I'd come for. Joel Crane sat on the edge of his bed, that was barely more than a raised cot, his dark hair hanging forward, shielding his face as he clasped the back of his neck. Something about the way he sat reminded me of my brother after he returned from an evening of enjoying far too many spirits. A pain that was akin to a knife wound sliced through my chest. It had to be the hair. My brother's was a bit lighter, a shade stuck somewhere between blonde and brown, but it was the same length as Joel's. Thinking about my brother was the very last thing I needed at this moment. I closed the door behind me as I glanced around the chamber. Joel's armor had been left by the entrance, his weapons placed on the chest at the foot of his bed. All but one. A dagger lay beside him on the blanket, its blade the color of crimson in the low light. Bloodstone. Joel lifted his head. Sweat dampened the wisps of hair at his forehead, a sign that the fever had taken hold. He squinted. Shadows had already blossomed under his eyes, where the skin was thin and quick to decay. And that was exactly what was happening to Joel. He was decaying. Rotting. He was already dead.
"Flynn?"
I nodded, propping myself against the wall. "Saw you return from outside the rise."
"Yeah."
He dropped his hand to his knee. His arm trembled. "Thought I'd check on you and see how you were doing." Joel blinked, and then looked away.
"Feeling just peachy."
"You sure about that?" He opened his mouth, but all that came out was a ragged laugh. "You were bitten, weren't you?" I waited, and it didn't take long for him to do the right thing. Silently, he lifted his left arm and shoved up the sleeve of his tunic. There it was. Further confirmation of what I already knew. 2 jagged indents on his wrist. The torn flesh oozed an oily, dark substance. Reddish-blue lines already radiated from what should be a rather minor wound, running up his forearm and disappearing under his sleeve. Joel was going to turn, becoming what he'd been dispatched to kill. A violent, rage-fueled beast with a hunger that couldn't be satiated. And he would do it sooner, rather than later.